Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiujitsu2000 here today. I'm back, and I've got an interesting video for you. What I want to talk about in this video today is water filtration. So I have my water bottle here, and I want to talk about the water behind me. And I want to show you in this video how you can make a primitive water filter in a survival situation. So first thing that you see here is a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle that nests inside of a stainless steel nesting cup. And inside of my Nalgene bottle, you can see that there is a cotton bandana. I like to store the cotton bandana inside of my Nalgene bottle when it's out of water, when it's empty, because I don't want this bottle to create condensation, which would make it stink or make it go get kind of nasty. So I want to prevent that. So the condensation will adhere itself to the cotton, and then therefore my bottle stays clean. Now, technically speaking, if I had a second container, maybe this, for example, this is a wide mouth Pace Picante 32-ounce bottle. I could dip the water, use my bandana to put over the mouth of this bottle, and pour that water through the bandana into this cup. Then I could take this cup, put this cup over the fire, boil the water, and then when it's finished, put that boiling water in my drinking bottle, and I could be good to go, no problems. But I want to take this a little bit further than just survival drinking of water. I want to make it actually, in some cases, bearable, I guess you would say. So I'm going to use a 2-liter plastic bottle with natural materials around me that you can find just about anywhere in the world. I'm going to show you how to make a primitive water filter that will improve the odor and the taste of the water, and also the clarity of the water. So you won't be drinking brown mud water that's been pre-filtered through a bandana, only to take the debris and things out. That water is... look at the color of it. That water is nasty. I've got all my materials gathered. The only thing that we're gonna really need tool-wise is a knife. I'm gonna use this Mora heavy duty. And what I wanna do is I wanna take this bottle and I wanna cut along this line right here. Be careful not to cut yourself. So I'm just gonna puncture the bottle here. Very safe cutting. And I'm trying to cut as straight as I can around this bottom of the bottle. There, we're almost there. Get my cut right there. We're just about there. Okay, so there's what the bottle looks like. Go ahead and keep this portion right here. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it in the fire or anything like that. Keep that for now. I'll just set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off of the bottom of this for just a second, and then I'll put it back on for just a second. What I want to talk about is the first layer of the filter, the bottom layer, which is going to be the rocks. Now, the rocks are a very important part of this filter. And what I'm looking for is I'm wanting to find a rock that'll go almost through the bottom, but not quite. Let's see, something like that. And I want something that's not gonna clog the bottom of the bottle. I want something just like this that's gonna allow water to flow past it. Okay, so I want water to flow past that rock and out the bottom of the filter. So I'm going to take a few of these rocks, and they're already pretty clean, and I'm just going to dump a small layer of rocks down in the bottom of this down in the bottom of this container. It doesn't take a lot of rocks because they don't do much for the actual filtration process. So don't try to put too many rocks in there. And one thing that I'd recommend is if you have the ability to kind of put some of the smaller rocks in, I would definitely recommend that. So you get a little bit more media in there, I guess. So it's a little tighter pattern. And it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a deal breaker or anything like that, but the rocks are definitely need to allow the water to pass through. So at this point, that's pretty much all the rocks I need. I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on for now. Okay, and I want to talk about the next element, which is a very important element. This is the charcoal. This is the charcoal that came out of the fire pit. Now, one thing that I want to mention about this charcoal is when you put it into your water filter, you want to find the pieces that are about the size of your little fingernail all the way up to your thumbnail, and you want to just drop those in. But before you put these all in your water filter, I recommend cleaning them in some water. I'm going to dump some of these into this water here and just kind of clean them a little bit. Just let them dance around, just kind of clean them, and then I'll drop them in as we go. The purpose of this is to get rid of the lye that would exist in the charcoal. So it's just a cleaning step. If I don't do this right now, it's okay. But if I do this, it's going to actually speed up the amount of time quite dramatically as to how fast we can actually start using this water filter. And you want various sizes. You don't want like a powder, but some of these smaller pieces are actually good because they have more filtration. If the pieces are really big and really hard, like maybe they came from a hardwood, then you might want to crush them down a little bit and get them into more manageable pieces so that their effectiveness of filtration will be enhanced. If you don't do that and you just have 4 or 5 pieces of charcoal, you're kind of limiting the amount of filtration that charcoal is going to do. So what you could do is, if you had some larger pieces, you could just take you a stick and just kind of poke it down in there and kind of break these pieces down. And again, we're kind of getting rid of the powder and all that stuff, so we're gonna speed up the process here. So you want a pretty decent layer of charcoal. This charcoal helps reduce the bad taste and the bad odor that might exist in the water. So charcoal is one of the elements that I try to put more in than other elements. I really like a good solid layer of charcoal in my water filter. So every once in a while you can kind of tap the thing down and they get to settle in their position where they're supposed to be. And I'm kind of down to powder now in this bag, and it looks like I have a decent layer of charcoal there. So let me set that bag aside. That looks pretty good. Let's take a look and see the color of it. See how it's kind of blackish in color. This is going to get rid of the lye and stuff that's out of the water, or out of that charcoal rather. You can see that I put the bottom on because I don't want to set this in the dirt and have the dirt plug it up or anything like that. There's one more piece I'm going to throw in there. So the next layer of filtration that we need is sand. And sand is going to be a pretty decent layer as well. It's a pretty important layer. So I would maybe suggest going up maybe 2 inches or 1.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that, depending on how much sand you have. And it's important when it comes to the sand, I can't stress this enough, very important that you find sand instead of dirt. Sand has the ability to allow water to pass through it, where dirt, when you add water to dirt, it will clog and it will prevent your filter from working. Okay, so as I get the sand I'm checking for little sticks or anything like that. It's not gonna hurt anything if you have like a stick or something in there, but you want to try to avoid it if you can. So I'm just putting a little bit of sand in there, a couple inches. This is one of the main filter components as well, is the sand. So you can see there I have rocks, charcoal, and sand, and you can see that the sand is kind of intertwining with the charcoal. That's okay. It's all filter media as far as I'm concerned. So that looks pretty good. So we're done with the sand. And you can see that I had plenty of it. Probably had enough to make 2, maybe even 3 water filters. Which leads us to the next layer, which is going to be those ants. I love those ants. And when you get the ant rocks, please don't destroy their homes. Let's respect these ants. They worked really hard to bring us all these little rocks, you know, so we don't want to damage their home or their livelihood or anything like that. This is going to be basically a good layer. One technique that I like to use when I'm gathering these is, as I pour them from one hand to the other, I blow. So any light material that's dirt or anything like that, or sticks, when I go from one hand to the other, it'll blow that other stuff out of the way, and then you'll end up with just good rocks. So, found a pretty cool piece of petrified wood too while I was out there. That was pretty cool. So we're gonna put the rest of these in there. It doesn't take a lot, because all these little rocks do is they're like the first real line of defense, other than the grass that you see here. These rocks is like the first real filtration that we're going to have in here. That leads us to our last layer, which is going to be our grass. If you don't have grass or something readily available, it's okay. You can actually skip this. In a lot of cases I do. So we're just kind of making like a little bird's nest, almost as if we were going to make a fire. We're going to take that and we're just going to pack that down. Pack that down into the top of our filter there. Nothing too crazy, folks. It's very simple, very primitive. Okay. And what this does is this will hold back any twigs, or this is really our first line of defense. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to find a method of hanging this, because this is going to take a little bit of time for the water filter to do its thing. So what we're going to do is, remember that stick from earlier? We're going to use this stick as our hanger, but we need to puncture a couple holes in the side, and I'm going to come down from the top, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to drill a little hole here. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. And we'll spin it around 180 degrees, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, about the same height. This is going to help give us an option to hang this thing, so that we can set it and forget it, so to speak. So we're going to take that little stick there that we had, poke it through, something like that, just like that, and that's going to give us our bell to hang our water filter. Now, I don't have any cordage with me right now, so I'm going to take my bandana, and I'm just going to take a little section of this bandana off, just like this. Nothing too crazy. Put the rest in my kit here, and this little piece of bandana is going to now be cordage for me to hang this up in a tree so I don't have to hold it the whole time. That would be kind of frustrating. You can hear that wind whipping around. It's really getting windy out there. So let's go ahead. I'm just doing a square knot. That's all I'm doing. Nothing too significant. If you're not familiar with the square knot, please check my knots playlist. So now we have a hanging type water filter. Hang that baby right there. What I'm really hoping for is to hang it at a place where it's just barely high enough so I can sit this under it and let it just drip right into this. So I'm kind of making a nice little area for this to do its thing. Looks like I need to go in a little bit more. Let's just kind of pack that around so that this can sit just about anywhere it wants. And that's what the setup looks like for now. Now, one thing that I want to stress is when I start pouring water in, don't pour water past where this stick is through, because if you do, the water will come out of these holes on the side and it'll drip down the side of the filter and it'll go right into your container. So that's part of the reason why we have such a clear plastic and a good visual here, is so that we can stop, you know, maybe a ½ an inch below this hole here. We don't want the water to come out the side. I'm back from the water source. I have a little bit of water here. Let's go ahead and get this filter started. It's nice because you can see the plastic here. You can see the level of your water, and you can also see the water seeping down into the sand, and it'll start dripping. But in the beginning, it's going to take some time before this water down here is clear. Okay, so we're going to have to probably filter maybe 10 of these or something before this water is actually ready to be starting to boil the water. So got to be kind of patient with this. I really like this because you can see the level of water, and it takes a little time to get this going. We have to prime the filter. We're getting our first drips now. And again, I'm stopping about a ½ an inch below here. The water that's coming out right now is real dirty, but that'll change. I had to add a little bit more sand to the top layer on the grass, and now you can see the flow rate has came down, and that's what we want. We want this thing to work over time. We want this water to come through slowly. That's how we know that we're filtering the water. I'm very pleased with the result of this filter. There's a couple of things that I did. On the stick, I angled the stick so that this hole here is lower than this other hole. I did that so I only have to watch one hole, because if the water gets close to being flush with this hole, or me being at risk of the water coming out of the hole and cross-contaminating the water, you know, I can stop just short of here. And even if it was to come up flush, I'm still a ½ of an inch low on this side. So the results are good. I've made other water filters like this in the past that have performed very good. This one is not putting out that crystal clear water. Some of the other ones I've made in the past have put out crystal clear water, but this one's not doing that. This is terrible water though that's behind me. Another thing that I did was I put a small leaf on the top here. I did that because every time I would pour water, it would dig a hole in the sand, and it just kept digging lower and lower. So I put that leaf there to distribute the water, so that as I pour it in, it's a little more effective at not digging that hole. This sand is extremely fine sand. And I've noticed, looking in the bottom of this cup here, There's a couple small granules of sand that have slipped past, and that's to be expected when you're doing a filter like this. This is not a Sawyer, this is not a Life Straw, this is not a Be Free, this is not an MSR Guardian, this is a primitive survival water filter. Okay, so what I mean by that is those types of filters that I just mentioned are designed, they're hollow fiber membrane filters, and they're designed to remove the cryptosporidium and the giardia from the water. This one is not. This one is designed to make the water better than it was. If you were in a survival situation and this is all you had, it was either drink this and you couldn't make a fire. If it was either drink this or drink that water behind me, of course, drinking this would put you at less risk of getting sick, but you would still be at risk. Okay, but again, the potential of risk would be lower. In a case like that, it might be smart to dig an Egyptian well, or a coyote well as some people call it. And that is where you take a stick or a shovel and you dig about 5 or 6 feet from the water source, and you dig lower than that water source, and the earth, the natural dirt and earth and everything will filter that water for you. And then you could take that filtered water and run it through something like this, and you could probably get a better result. Now, I have a fire behind me because this is water filtration, not water purification, and there's a big difference between those two. So don't get that confused. Only in a survival situation could you drink this and you would still be at risk. I just want to make that clear. I'm getting pretty full here, so I think I'm going to chuck this water because I think I've got plenty of water to go in here. I've got a little sand in the bottom, so I'm going to use some of this. All I need is enough to fill this cup. What I'm going to do after I boil it, actually, I'm gonna put this on the fire and then I'm gonna boil it. So let's do that right there. But the filter worked good. So let me take my bandana and get this out of the fire. Ooh, that smoke is getting me. Handles are still a bit hot. There's my bottle. Just pour this hot water in there. And this will get rid of any sand or debris or grit that might have, ashes or anything that was in the fire. So there's my water, and there's everything that I filtered out. That little bit right there. This thing is still warm, but I think it's cool enough for a taste test. So I'm gonna take the little cup that I have here. One thing that I forgot to mention in this video about this cup is you could actually put the water in this and boil it over a fire if you had to, and it won't melt the plastic. So I'm going to pour this water in here. We're going to give this a taste test. I'll set this down for a second. And I'd like to pour this source water into this cup and show you guys a close-up comparison of the difference of these two. So this is the water that we were working with versus the water that we finished up with. Significant difference. That's crazy, isn't it? First thing I want to test is odor. I want to see if this water smells. It smells like charcoal. And let's give it a taste. Nice and warm, like tea almost. I don't have any grit or sand or anything, so that's good. It's still very hot. Oh, it feels like I'm drinking tea. It's nice and warm going down my throat. It's not bad. It doesn't have any bad taste or anything like that. I kind of wish I could drink it a little faster, but it's still hot. It doesn't taste bad at all. I could drink this all day. Now, for those of you who might be looking at this and you might be seeing the color of the water is not perfectly clear, you might be getting a little nervous about that. And let me touch base with you on that. What is Coca-Cola? It's discolored water. What is iced tea? It's discolored water. What is coffee? It's all discolored water. So even though this is still discolored, it's still completely safe to drink on a biological front, because we've killed everything in it by boiling it. Another thing that I forgot to mention about the charcoal, not only does the charcoal help eliminate the odor and the taste from the water, but it'll also help remove chemicals and metals, heavy metals. So the water actually tastes drinkable. It's not bad at all. I would hate to taste this. Probably be terrible. This is actually pretty pleasant. And to know that that's been filtered through sand and dirt and all kinds of stuff, it's pretty crazy. Not bad. Not bad one bit. So folks, I want to say thank you for joining me today on this video of this water filter. This was a fun video. You know, I mentioned earlier that I've done other water filters in the past that were a lot more effective at removing the discoloration from the water. I don't know if it's because this sand is so fine or what the reasoning is, but I still ended up with discolored water, but it's not bad. It's actually pretty pleasant. So I hope you got some good, useful information out of this video. Please feel free to leave your comments down below. Like this video, share this video, and as always, thank you guys for stopping by, and I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Not bad. Not bad at all.